Okay, let's get started.
Alright.
Let only me. Just a sec. Open the chat box on Facebook. All right. Okay, watching out. All right. So that's it. We are on. Let's see. Can you see how many people we have there?
Well, so far, 3 people. Yeah, I guess it takes a little while for them to get here. Is it working?
Yeah, it's working
All
here.
right.
Yeah, see that?
If you are there watching us right now, please let us know in the chat box.
Thalissa. Okay, I can see Thalissa here.
Ah, Thalissa.
Thalissa, right. She's never wrong.
Never wrong. And she's probably laughing now. And now that I said she's laughing, she's probably laughing more. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have one like here.
People are arriving.
Yeah, they are. I can see here Isabel asked something.
Nice.
Okay, Isabel is not finding.
There she is. Hi, Nusi. Nusi's here.
This is there too.
Thalissa.
Hello, Thalissa, Lucy.
Oh, there it is. She was laughing.
She is.
I know her. I know her.
Camila is also
So
here.
how's
Hi,
the weather
Camila.
there, Thalissa? How's the weather in England right now? I'm dying to know.
Sunny as always.
Always sunny.
Always sunny in London.
Yes. Hi, Nusi.
Cláudio, boa tarde. Eu tô tentando acessar o seminário do
Oh.
Victor, aquele link
I'm
no
here.
layout que você mandou pra gente.
Luis is here, but on the page I'm gonna send him a message.
Yes.
Okay. Mhm.
Sunny but windy. Nice. Guys,
Oh,
we're gonna start in a couple of minutes. Okay, we're just waiting for
it's cloudy. Yeah,
For-
let's wait for
for
some more
people to come in here. Yes.
Facebook, okay, Luis, go there. People are
All right.
entering.
Can we get
Luis, hi
started?
there. Okay, so let's get started. As people go entering, we will see here. 307, so let's get started. All right, guys, so thank you very much for being here. Isabel just entered too. Guys, my name is Claudio Caccioli. I'm from Centro Cultural Brasil, Estados Unidos, Campinas. We are a binational center, an American-Brazilian center situated in Campinas, São Paulo, Brazil. Well, we don't have anyone from abroad so far, except for Thalissa, but she knows where we are. Guys, we are starting a series of webinars that will take place every other Friday. Today is our first. So please be tuned in our social networks because you will be able to see when we are gonna broadcast the next one that is supposed to happen on 19th, 2 Fridays from now. All right. So you who are entering, please put on the chat box the place you are all in and the name of your binational center, please. So Lucy again, pleasure is ours, Lucy. Okay. Maria Isabel Constantine is there. Okay, let's go ahead. So guys, as I told you today, we start our series of webinars. Victor Rochetti, our professor, is going to be the first one to do. His webinar is Design, Create, Play, 3 paths that can lead you to your goals. I can assure that it's very insightful and you will be able to profit a lot from that. It's a very, very good team and can help you in your personal and professional lives. If you have any questions, please put on the chat box, and in the end we will make the questions and any other comments that you have. So Victor, take it. It's yours.
Thank you very much, Claudio, for the kind introduction. It's a real pleasure to be here, sharing with all of you a little bit of what I've been studying recently, some of the things that are very interesting for me. And hopefully you'll be able to get something out of this so you can find solutions to your daily problems or professional problems and so on. Before we start, please let me know if you can hear me well, if you want me to turn up the volume or something like that. I'm gonna carry on here. If there's any issue, Claudio will be looking at the chat box here, and then we can fix it if there's anything. Okay? So here we go. Let me change here. All right. Also, one more thing regarding Facebook. If the image is blurry to you, if you can't see the video, if the quality is not so good, two things might be happening. First, your internet might be a little slow, or maybe the quality of the video is set for a lower quality. So at the bottom of the video on Facebook, there should be an icon there. If you click on the icon, there are different options for the video quality. Click on that icon and set 720 pixels, 720p. Then you'll be able to see everything fine. You'll be able to read everything that I share here with you on my screen. Okay, that was just a little message, just a little note. And I want to start now. This might sound a little strange, but I want to start with a little math challenge. I know we're in English school by National Center, but bear with me here. I will connect everything, but I'm going to start from here, a little math challenge. I'm going to show you a puzzle, a math puzzle, and I'm also going to give you 40 seconds to try to find the answer to this puzzle. This is actually from a fellow teacher from Centro Henriette. I don't know if you were there, but you shared with us on WhatsApp the other day. I found it very, very interesting. Please write your answers to the puzzle in the chat box. I'm sure you might be surprised with the different answers that pop up. So here we go. That's the math puzzle right there. I'm going to give you 40 seconds starting now. Just write your answers in the chat box. We'll get to it later.
Yes, Victor Henriette is here with us.
Yeah, sound is perfect. Nice.
You were mentioned.
Elisa said everything's okay too. Cool.
Nice.
17 seconds, guys. I feel like I'm teaching a class.
Yeah, in a way you are. Oh, it's very
and
easy. Come on.
the time is up. Okay, so write your answers in the chat box. I am not going to give you the answer right now. I'm going to get back to this later. You will see it will all make sense. All right. So what is this all about? What's this presentation about? There are three things I want to touch on. The first one is design thinking. I don't know if you've heard of this before. If you have, also let us know in the chat box. I'm going to talk a little bit about creativity as well. Some ideas, some concepts that maybe you haven't heard of before. A different way to look at creativity. And I'm going to finish by talking a little bit about gamification. Hopefully you'll be able to use at least one of these things here in your lives. My personal goals for this presentation are, first of all, to shake things up a little bit, because usually we have this tendency to find easy answers, quick answers to problems, and we don't look at things from different perspectives. So I want to shake things up a little bit, maybe help you have some insights, and as I mentioned already, help you see things from a different perspective. I'm going to show you some tools as well, some examples, of how we can use those tools to find solutions to problems, which is probably the main goal here, solving problems in a creative way. I want to make sure you know that this is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm sharing with you lots of ideas, but there's so much more to each one of these things. And if you're interested in any of these, whether design thinking, creativity, or gamification, I do encourage you to study more deeply, find courses if that's a possibility for you, and study it more deeply, because they are very interesting things and themes. So starting with design thinking, of course, the main idea here is to find solutions to problems. This is a way in which we can do that. And the main idea here for design thinking, or the main ideas, are the steps. First of all, to empathize. We're talking about it. Imagine there's someone who has a problem, and this person comes to you with that problem, and you're going to help them find a solution. First thing that's important to do is to empathize with that person. And this person could even be you, could be yourself. You're having a problem, empathize with yourself, why not? The next step would be to define. I'm going to be talking a lot about defining the problem very, very clearly, having perfect idea of what the problem is. And then it's time for ideas, coming up with lots and lots of ideas, creative ideas, crazy ideas, why not? Then, if necessary, and if it's a possibility, to build a prototype. This will really depend on what you are dealing with, what kind of problem you have. And finally, to test it. Basically, I'm talking about three different things here. First, when it comes to design thinking, okay? First, understanding. And down here, exploring. And finally, materializing. And then in each one of these, we can look at them a little closer. In understanding, as I mentioned before, we have empathizing and defining. In order to empathize, it's very important that we conduct some kind of research to develop an understanding of the user. You can substitute the word user. It sounds very technical here. Substitute it for anything else, like understanding of your students, for instance, understanding of your friend who might be coming to you with that problem. Doesn't matter who that is. And then after that, defining. You're going to combine all this research, observe where the problems exist, all the data that you collected, all the information, to have a clear understanding of what the problem is. Then, as I said, ideas, generating a range of crazy ideas, building a prototype, something real, something tactile that represents this range of ideas that you've had. And here, I can give you an example. Let's say, for instance, that the solution that you found to that problem you're working with is developing an app. Before you actually develop the app or hire someone to develop that app, it's important to have a prototype. It could be on a sheet of paper, for example. You can draw the screen, what the app would look like with the buttons, and then depending on the button that you click on the sheet of paper, it takes you to another screen. Then you have another sheet of paper showing you a drawing of what that screen would look like, and so on. And then you take that to the person you are helping, or the student, or whoever it is, and have them test it out so you can get some feedback and see if there are any changes that need to be made. So it's the time to test, right? That was just an example, if it's an app. And then it's time to materialize. After you've made adjustments, after you've gotten the feedback from the users, you see how this needs to be adjusted, then you can implement that. Basically, this is design thinking, okay? Now, what can design thinking be used for? It could be used for a number of things. For example, to improve a process, to create a physical or digital artifact, as I mentioned, the app, to create an information system or even an experience, an awareness campaign. Let's say you need to raise people's awareness somehow. You can use design thinking to understand the problem and come up with creative solutions. And why not help students learn better, right? That's only one thing. These are just a few examples of how you can use design thinking. Why a garbage bin? I want to give you some examples on design thinking. And this is a situation, this is a real situation and a real problem. What was happening was that the people who work collecting, picking up trash on the street, they were having a big problem. They were getting home very late at night after a day's work, and they were feeling exhausted, completely exhausted. So some people were trying to help them find a solution to that problem. Now, the first thing that came to their mind was, well, maybe the garbage bin that they have to carry around throughout the day is too heavy. Maybe it's too heavy, and that's why they're feeling exhausted. And then they started thinking of solutions, how to make the garbage bin lighter. But then they decided to take a step back and investigate, as I said, understanding and defining, right? Investigate what the problem was. They started talking to these people, trying to get a better feel of what was happening. And then in the end, they decided to live a day in the life of these people. So they went out to the street to work, collecting, picking up trash. This is what happened. They had to wake up extremely early, very early in the morning. They had to take a bus to a distribution center where they would pick up the garbage bin. Then they had to take another bus to the area of the city where they would be picking up the trash, spending the day. And then they had to go back to the distribution center to drop off the garbage bin. And only then were they allowed to go home. Of course, they were going to be tired at the end of the day. So it became very clear to the people who were trying to find a solution to the problem that the problem was not the garbage bin. It was more about the distribution centers, and the solution revolved around having more than one distribution center so that they wouldn't have to commute so much on the same day. Why am I saying this? Because it is very important, as I've already mentioned, to define the problem, and to do so we have to get rid of assumptions. We can't have any preconceptions of it. Our brains usually try to fill in the blanks. If there are holes, the brain fills in those blanks with our preconceptions, the way it thinks it's right. But the information most of the times is not right. And then you can't come up with good solutions. How do you do this? Interview them. Collect information, data. What's hurting them most? What's the real problem? Try to gather as much information as you can. This is another example I want to give you. And this little girl, she developed an app called Sit With Us. I'm sure you have all seen this scene, maybe in movies or in real life. It's lunchtime at school. The kid picks up their food, and they're holding the tray. They turn around. They don't know where to sit. They don't have any friends to sit with. Lots of students feeling lonely. You have the athletes sitting at a table. You have the musicians at another, and a bunch of different groups that already work well together, and they feel lonely. They don't know where to sit. So she had this idea for this app, and you can register there. You can sign up, and then you can find other kids who are feeling the same way, who are feeling lonely and feel as if they don't have any friends. And then when you find these people, these other kids, you can sit with them at lunchtime. Very, very cool idea. The theme of this problem is around bullying, right? The problem specifically is lonely students need a way to build relationships, but they don't feel confident to take that first step. That's the problem, clear problem. And the question that rises from this is, how can we help students who feel lonely at school without exposing them? The question is extremely important, but in order to get to that question, we have to define the problem. And there's a little formula that you can use to help you in the process. And the formula involves creating a statement. And the statement here is, user needs a way to something, that's the need. And you can only know the need once you've interviewed them, once you've investigated. But in the current context, the problem is, and then you have the obstacle. Going back to the girl's problem, lonely students, that's the user, need a way to build relationships, that's the need, but don't feel confident to take the first step, that is the obstacle. Very clearly defined. And the question, obviously, how can we help students who feel lonely at school without exposing them? The message here, guys, I can't emphasize enough, is to really define the problem. You can use this statement, the formula. If you didn't get it, you can go back. This video is going to be saved. You can go back and look at the formula again later on. Get to a statement, then you get to the question. Once that's clearly defined, then you can start thinking about solutions. Speaking of solutions, I'm back here to the math puzzle, and I want to know if I got any answers. So people didn't put any answers in the chat box. Is that right, Claudio?
There are no answers, guys. Come on.
No problems. No problems.
Give it a try.
Claudio, what do you think?
Eliane,
Did you get to an answer?
No, I didn't. Let me analyze that. Well, let me take the moment and say that Eliane from Interamericano de Curitiba is here. Hello, Eliane. It's
Hi,
another
Eliane.
Binational Center, a partner Binational Center. Nice to see you here.
Great. Nice. 15 people watching. It's great. Luis is here. Lucas is here. Greetings, guys. Thank you for being here. Taking the time.
I have no idea. I really have no idea.
Okay, so let's go through this together. Now, here the answer is 30, which means that each pair of sneakers is worth 10 points. So 10 plus 10 plus 10, you get 30. And you have the pair of sneakers here again, but you need to get to 20. That means that each boy is worth 5 points. So 10 plus 5 plus 5, you get to 20. And you have the boy here again. It's 5 points. And you have a couple of newspapers here and here. They are going to be worth 4 points. So 5 plus 4 plus 4, you get to 13. And then this really got me when I did this puzzle. I don't know if he actually remembers. He on WhatsApp, I think I wrote 2 or 3 different answers because every time I looked at it, I saw something different. If you look at the last line, first you will see that there isn't a pair of sneakers. There's only one sneaker. So it's not 10, it's 5. The newspaper, you don't have 2, you only have 1, which means this is worth 2 points, not 4. And if you look closely at the boy, he is originally worth, let's put it like that, 5 points, but he's holding 2 newspapers and he's wearing a pair of sneakers, which means that this image here is worth 5, the boy, plus 4, the newspapers, plus the pair of sneakers, which is 10. 19 total. And one last thing. There's a multiplication sign here, which means that this is the math that you have to do first. 19 times 2, you will get 38. 38 plus 5 for the sneaker, you will get 43. I don't remember the answers that I got to when I was doing this, 20, 25 or something. It was really crazy. I had lots of different answers, and it took me a while to see everything that was happening. What I want to show you with this is that the brain is very lazy. I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation here, we have this strong tendency, or the brain has a strong tendency to choose the easy way out, the patterns that we are conditioned to using, or the brain is conditioned to using. The brain is lazy. So what happened was I didn't look at all the items in the math puzzle, and I came up with a quick answer, and it wasn't right. There is a quote by the great Albert Einstein that goes like this: if I were given 1 hour to save the planet, I would spend 59 minutes defining the problem and 1 minute resolving it. 1 minute resolving it. I don't know if this has ever happened to you guys, but when the problem is clearly defined, sometimes the solution comes like this. And in other times, we come up with lots of different solutions, And none of them works because we didn't take enough time. We didn't spend enough time thinking about the problem and trying to clearly define it. That is basically the message. There's an example I'd like to give. Drink some water. Is everybody following this? Am I going too fast or something? Let us know in the chat box. Oh, now I can see some answers. 30, 12.
30, yeah. Camila,
Awesome.
12. Elisa, 30.
Far from the answer. It's crazy. So, an example. Very simple example, a little closer to our reality here. The other day, I was at the study center, and I was available to talk to any students who might be having difficulties with the content, with the grammar. And a student came, this was online, obviously, and she came to me and she said she was desperate because she was going to do the test on that day in like half an hour or 1 hour. And she was struggling a lot with the grammar. And she said, I need help, I need help. And of course, I tried to help her the best way I could. But I couldn't help thinking at first, like, wow, this is really close to the test. There's only so much I can do, right? The test is 1 hour away. How am I going to solve all of these problems and clear her doubts in time? So my first impulse was to, of course, I helped her. I gave her extra exercises and explanations. But my first impulse was to give her some advice by talking about the importance of having contact with the language outside of the classroom. And she could do that by doing the homework, by reading, doing a bunch of things. But the importance of trying to consolidate what you see in class, right? You see something in class, you do the homework, consolidate that, come to the next class, practice a little more, then do some more homework, and so on. So you can really absorb, take in the content. Which is good. She agreed. She said, yes, you're right. I should have done that. But at the same time, she told me what was happening. And the fact is that she had been working twice as much during this pandemic, the quarantine, to make up for something. She had to work twice as much. So she couldn't find the time to do that. So if I had understood or tried to understand her problem or define the problem more deeply, maybe I could have given her some more assertive advice. Like, oh, what's your routine like? How many hours are you working? Do you work in the morning, afternoon, in the evening? Try to get some information from her so that I could say, oh, okay, look, this is what you can do if you have a break at lunchtime, for example. You can, maybe read something in English, something that you enjoy. Or I could have given her some other kind of feedback. So that was just a little example to conclude this part on the importance of defining the problem. This is where we are right now in the design thinking model here. We are trying to understand, empathizing, and defining the problem. Some people do this, all of this, quite intuitively. Let me show you a picture. Isn't this amazing? Yes, it's a flip-flop in the car to hold the cell phone. Very creative. Some people say that Brazilians need to be studied by NASA, right? Maybe they're right. But I would say the Brazilians are extremely creative. They have this ability to turn problems into solutions. It's maybe a natural ability that they have, and it's funny. You might find it silly, maybe, but it's fun. It's very interesting. So I'm talking about creativity for solving problems. Usually we tend to associate creativity with artistic creativity, right? Somebody who's drawing something, painting, writing a song, a poem, something like that. It's not the one I'm talking about now, although they are connected. I'm talking about creativity for solving problems. And where does it come in? Where does creativity come in this whole scheme of design thinking? When we're talking about ideas, generating a range of creative, crazy ideas, we are exploring here and building the prototype. Now, let me go back here. Yes. If you look at this, this is kind of a prototype of a creative idea that came from a problem that was clearly understood. I know that I'm stretching this too much, maybe too far. Obviously, this person didn't take design thinking into consideration to come up with this idea. They're doing it very intuitively. But what I want to say here is that knowing the process can be very helpful. If you hit a snag, if you get stuck, for example, trying to find a solution, if you know this process, this could be one of the tools, one of the methods that you use to help you get to your solution. An example of something that we are going through right now is online teaching. Maybe when you heard for the first time that you were going to have to teach online, you felt like the girl here. I'm losing my mind. Nobody cares. How am I going to do this? I've never taught online. How do you do this? What tools do we use? How am I going to interact with my students? How does this work? And it's a problem. And I have a couple of questions here. Have you found a solution to this problem? Was it easy for you? And also, what is the problem exactly? Is it related to yourself and the fact that you have difficulty with using technology, or is it something else? Is it related to the class itself and interactivity with the students, for example? Have you given it enough thought, or did you give it enough thought when this happened, when you found out that you were going to have to teach online? If you have any ideas, if you have had any creative ideas in the last couple of months about this, also write it in the chat box, because it can be helpful to someone who might be struggling with this, a fellow teacher who is still struggling with the technology or finding ways to keep the classes going smoothly. Write it in the chat box. I'm going to get back to this later on in the presentation. I just wanted to introduce it because I'm going to talk about some other things before. And what I'm going to talk about now is creativity and the many aspects that creativity involves. And I have a little question here. I've never done this, but I'm going to try to create a poll. Poll. Where is it? Here. I'm going to create a poll here. The question is, do you think creativity is a gift that only some people have? So I'm going to give you some options here. Yes, no, and not sure, if you're not sure. What's happening here? There. Save. And publish. Okay, I've never done this before, so if it doesn't work, cut me some slack. It should be up there soon. Just give me your thoughts. Tell me what you think. Is creativity a gift only some people have? Claudio, I'd like to bring you back in here. Are you there?
I'm here, as always.
Okay, so what do you think? I want to know. Is creativity something you're born with, nobody else can have?
I don't think so. I think that some people, they may be more creative than others, but you need to develop that. I believe that if you have the gift, and you need to work on it to improve it and to boost it. Otherwise, it's going to be lost and they're going to not have efficiency in what you do. So, yeah, you have it from birth is very good, but if you don't develop, it's not going to go anywhere.
Got it. Interesting. I'm getting some answers here, Claudio. 10% of people said yes. Yes, it's a gift some people have. 70%, 67% of people say no, it's not something you're just born with and nobody else has it. And around 18% think they're not sure, actually. Very interesting. So it worked. It worked.
We have a comment from Luis here, Luis Isamo. I think all people, oh my.
All people have some
creativity to some extent. Yeah, that's it.
Great.
We have here João Adalberto entering now.
Oh, my father-in-law is watching. Hey. Really nice to have you. I'm happy that you're here. Yeah. The whole family must be here. Thank you guys for showing up. Cool. Well, there's a little button here, show results in video. I don't know if... Let's try this. Close results. Okay. Gonna get back here to the presentation. So what I want to say here is anybody can do it. Anybody can have creativity. As you said, you might be born with more creativity or more creative than other people, but the thing is, throughout our lives, we go through a lot of different experiences, and we are highly influenced by people, family, teachers, friends, and all kinds of experiences that we live and go through. And all of these things or many of these things kind of tell us not to be creative, to take life more seriously. Don't use your imagination too much. And then we kind of start taking things a little too seriously. We unlearn how to be creative. So someone who is born very creative might lose it over time, and someone who is not so creative, at the beginning they might develop it, as you mentioned, Claudio. So anybody can have creativity. Another aspect of creativity that I want to share with you is this one. Nothing is lost. Nothing is created. Everything is transformed. I don't know if you've ever seen this quote before. Everything is transformed. I would even say that everything is combined. Everything is combined. So it is said that you can't create anything new. You can only combine things. Let me give you an example of this. Look at this. This was the main means of transportation in the past, right? You have the horse, and look, you have wheels and everything. This is already a combination of factors, because before that, probably people were just riding horses. And after that, someone came up with an engine to make it move. And then you don't need a horse anymore, so you're combining new elements. And now we are reaching this. Driverless cars, which is a combination of so many different things. You have the engine, you have the wheel, you have the tires, now you have the internet, and you don't even have to drive the car anymore. All crazy combinations. That's basically what a car is, a combination of different inventions and discoveries. So I really like this idea in creativity, that you combine things that maybe you already knew, maybe something you learned 10 years ago, you combine with something that you learned recently, and then you have something new. That's an interesting idea. Another aspect here is the idea of not settling for the first answer. Let me give you an example of that. The name of my presentation here today is Design, Create, Play. 3 paths that can lead you to your goals. And what's interesting is that when I was thinking about the title to this presentation, the 3 things I'm talking about, design thinking, creativity, and gamification, I could have just named the presentation that, and that would be fine. But then I thought, no, that's the first thing. There must be something, there must be a technique to think of creative titles or something like that. I'm not saying this is the most creative title in the world, but what I like is that I didn't choose the first answer that came to my mind. So I went online, I Googled it, and I found that there are many techniques that you can use to come up with a title. One of them, for example, is using numbers. 3 paths that can lead you to your goals. I'm sure you've seen BuzzFeed articles. 10 ways to get your dream job. 5 ways of such and such. This somehow triggers our curiosity. I thought, wow, this is interesting. I might include that in the title. Then again, I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about this, so it's maybe not the most creative thing in the world, but I didn't settle for the first answer, and I'm happy about that. Another very important thing about creativity is the what if. The idea of what if, this is where all creative and crazy ideas start, maybe, right? What if we combine this and this? Many times it won't work, but at least you're allowing yourself to be imaginative. You're allowing your creativity juices to flow, if that's even a sentence. Another thing here is, let me share here with you. Coffee because adulting is hard. I first saw this on the t-shirt of a fellow teacher at the Centro Cultural. I found it really funny. I love coffee, and it kind of makes sense, right? Coffee because adulting is hard. And yes, at some point in life, we have to start taking things a little more seriously and mature. But at the same time, there's a process that we allow to happen, which is becoming too adult, too much. I think too much of anything is harmful, right? So everything is too serious. Everything, as I mentioned before, we don't allow ourselves to be imaginative, to use creativity. Ego comes in, and we kind of lose our willingness to play with elements, play with thoughts and creations. Maybe we find out this is too silly. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to participate. I don't want to do that. That's too much adulting, maybe. I have a few quotes here that I really like. The first one, well, my video is on top of it. Just give me a second here. It's covering it. There. Okay. So some quotes. A creative adult is the child who survived. So powerful, this sentence, this quote, in my opinion. Creative adult is the child who survived. Another one, creativity is not the possession of some special talent. It's about the willingness to play. This is by John Cleese, very famous comedian. You might know him. Finally, it's better to create something and be criticized than create nothing and criticize everyone. Question here, are you being a judge in life? Are you judging everything and everyone and all the creations? Or are you trying to be more like a child, a curious child that allows their imagination to go wild and learn, right? Because when we are kids, we want to learn. We want to explore. We're like scientists exploring the world, and we want to do that. But over time, we lose that ability or that willingness to learn and to play. So exposing yourself more is connected to creativity, to be more creative. Don't be afraid to do so. And if you do so, fail fast and fail small. Failure is an important part of life. A lot of people are just striving to be successful, but they can't cope with failure. It's important to fail because you learn what you have to do and what changes you need to make to succeed later on. But fail fast and fail small means if you have a creative idea, something that you might think is a little crazy, you can share with the closest people to you, your family, your friends, and get their feedback. Remember the prototype. Give them the prototype of your idea. Have them test it out and give you some feedback on that. Fail fast, fail small, move on, and improve it. This is where we are when we talk about failing fast and failing small and exposing yourself, prototyping, and testing. And going back to the crazy combinations, don't be afraid to make those crazy combinations. This is basically what we do when we are kids. Look at that. Just put lots of Lego bricks together and create something really, really crazy. Don't be afraid to make those crazy combinations. Speaking of Legos, I'm moving into gamification now. We're heading to the final part of this presentation. I want to recap a little bit. So far, I've talked about design thinking. I showed you the how it works, the model, the process, the steps that you must take to find the solutions through design thinking. And then I talked a little bit about creativity for solving problems, allowing yourself to, be that kid that you once were, maybe use your imagination more. And now moving into the solution part, first you're going to need creativity, but also you can use gamification to come up with that solution. This is one thing that you can do creatively, but there are so many other things that you can do. So far, so good, guys. Claudio, what do you think? Any comments there?
Hi, Victor. I was taken by the comments here on the chat box. Lucas is very funny here. Thalissa also agrees. Lucas is like running a parallel show here. Very nice.
Thank you, Luke.
I had people from Recife here. They tried to connect, but they couldn't. They asked me if we are going to have it recorded, so they will watch later. Kel Levid from, I think, Izaba in Recife. I'm not sure about the name, but it's our Bike National Center in Recife. So
nice.
A lot of people attending here.
Okay, cool. So far, so good. Let's keep going. Why games in the first place? I found this definition, which I found kind of funny and interesting. What are games? Games are a set of unnecessary obstacles that we engage in voluntarily in order to achieve a goal by employing inefficient methods. I'm going to let this sink in a little bit. Give you some time to let it sink in. A set of unnecessary obstacles that we engage in voluntarily to achieve a goal employing inefficient methods. Let me give you an example. Has anybody ever played golf? Now, you have to put this tiny little ball in a tiny little hole, which is miles and miles away, but you can't just simply pick up the ball and throw, can you? You're going to use a golf club, but not only one, you're going to use a bunch of different golf clubs depending on the situation. So, unnecessary obstacles, inefficient methods, but for some reason, this is fun. I don't know, I've never played it, but a lot of people find it fun. And if you think about other games, it's the same thing, right? Games are fun for some reason, but you still have those obstacles there. So obviously, when we talk about gamification in games, one of the most important aspects is the fun aspect. Let me show you a couple of apps here. I don't know if you guys like jogging, but there's this app called Runkeeper, and it basically gives you all the statistics, the information, the distance that you ran, how long it took you to do so. It shows you the map, and it's very interesting. Gives you lots of information so you can keep track. But then there's another app called Zombie Run or Fuel Run or something like that. And it basically does the same thing. It gives you all the feedback, all the statistics. But while you're running, it tells you that there are zombies on the way. So there might be a zombie very close to you. You have to go around the zombie. It shows you on the phone. Or maybe you have to outrun the zombie. So some people might find this really silly and they might not want to engage in this. Maybe that's too adulting, right? But some other people are really driven by this kind of thing. You could go for a run and just have the statistics, or you can run away from zombies. Why not? Other examples I want to show you. This one's about littering. You could simply just put up a sign and ask people not to litter, but why not this? Hopscotch. Again, it might sound or seem silly, but you know, it's helpful. Some people respond to this. They are triggered by this. They are driven. Another one is the bottle bank arcade. You put the bottles in and it gives you points. You don't actually win anything, but it gives you points, and some people are driven by that too. Here's another one that I really like. If you want people to be fitter, again, you could put up a sign and say, take the stairs. Or this. They actually built piano keys on the stairs, and when you step on the stairs, the steps, they sound like a piano. It's a piano playing. I don't know about you guys, but I would be very curious to know what it sounds like and what it feels like to step on that. And it really worked. A lot of people started taking the stairs and rather than the escalators after this. One thing which is a little closer to our reality here, I don't know if you have ever used this website called Lyrics Training. I want to show you, let me see if I can show you the website. Where is it? Yes, okay. Let me change. So this is the website. This is what it looks like. And basically you have lots and lots and lots of songs to choose from. And the objective here is for you to fill in the blanks while the song plays. You are watching the music video. While the song plays, you have to fill in the blanks with the words that are missing. There are different levels, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Basically, the more advanced, the fewer words, the more words actually there are for you to fill in. Maybe some of you have already used this. And what is this? This is basically gamification of music. And it's an exercise that you can do in class with the students, or send them as homework, for example, just for fun, right? All right. But wait a minute, this is not exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to gamification. It's not only about making things more fun. There is something very substantial about gamification, about gaming, and these are the drivers. And this has to do with what I mentioned earlier, which is what drives you to play certain types of games. Some, as I said, the zombie run, some people might go for that. Some other people might find it too silly and they don't want to use it. But what drives people to go and use that instead of Runkeeper, for example? There are basically 8 different drivers for gamification. I'm going to talk to you about each one of them, give you some examples, and then see how we can maybe find some solutions by using them. The first one, the first driver for gamification is epic meaning and calling. There is a website. I want to share this with you as well. Let me just change it. It's called Free Rice. Has anybody ever heard of this? This website, Free Rice? Look at this. Basically, you have a vocabulary exercise here. This one says freedom means. And then when you choose the correct alternative, every time that you choose the correct alternative, an ad will pop up here. You can see the ad on the right. And basically this means that there is money coming in to this website. And then the people who put this website together, they take that money and donate it. They donate it as rice, but also they have other projects. I think it's really cool. Instead of just doing an English exercise for vocabulary, the students might be driven by this epic meaning. They feel that they are helping people. They are really helping when they go on this website, doing vocabulary exercise and helping the world. Some people are driven by that. If you look at Wikipedia, it's the same. You don't get paid to write in anything, to write some of the things that you know. You go there, you do it because you're driven by this epic meaning, this calling. There's a company called Tom's Shoes, and they have this campaign where you buy a pair of shoes, and every pair of shoes that you buy, they give another pair of shoes to another company, to maybe a country, I don't remember. Apologize for that, but also about epic meaning. Another driver here, development and accomplishment. Don't know if you guys remember when you were in kindergarten or when you were younger, your teachers giving you star stickers, or even you give some star stickers to your students. This is about development and accomplishment. Online courses, if you look at online courses, they show you maybe a progress bar, or they show you the videos or the classes that you have already taken. So you have this feeling of progression, right? There's progress and accomplishment. Even LinkedIn, you have to fill in your profile with all your information, and they show you a progress bar with how much you have already done it and how much is left for you to complete your profile. Some people are also driven by that. Another one is empowerment of creativity and feedback. If you look at Legos, for example, you have immediate creativity and immediate feedback. You try to put some bricks together, they don't work, so you try something else, right? It's immediate feedback, and there's a lot of creativity involved because you can pretty much build anything that you want. If you look at Twitter as well, there's a limited number of characters that you can type in, so you have to be creative in terms of what you're going to write there. Another one is ownership and possession. If you think about sticker albums and puzzles, things that people might want to collect. I don't know if you are driven by that, if you have albums or puzzles. So you build the puzzle and you keep it, right? It's possession. A lot of people are driven by that as well. Social influence and relatedness. There is a program called Big Brother, Big Sister program, which basically, where basically you volunteer to spend a day or hang out with some kids whose parents are at work all day, and the parents don't want them to stay on the streets, and they want their kids to stay away from drugs, for example. So you volunteer for that program, you spend a day with the kid, you're like a role model, and you are driven by that. You are driven by the idea of being a positive influence on someone else's life. Don't know if you guys know Dropbox, but they use something related to that as well, which is when you sign up, when you sign up for Dropbox, you have some space, so you can send some files that you have to the cloud. But when you invite other people to join in to sign up for Dropbox, you get more space. So the more people you invite, the more space you have. And people are going to sign up because they trust you. If you are telling them that this is good, they're going to sign up too. Social influence, they relate to that as well. Scarcity and impatience. I mean, Twitter, obviously, right? Scarcity, only a limited number of characters you can type in. I don't know if you guys ever heard of the marshmallow experiment. They put some kids in a room individually. They put a marshmallow in front of them and said, okay, you can eat the marshmallow right now, but if you wait for 10 minutes, I'm going to step out for 10 minutes. When I come back, I will give you an extra marshmallow, but only if you can wait. Some kids obviously ate the marshmallow right away. Some others were able to wait. And what's interesting is that many years later, they went to see how these kids were doing, and the ones who had been able to wait to get the second marshmallow, they were better workers. They were more successful in life. It's very interesting because they were not so impatient. They weren't so anxious. Very interesting experiment there. Another driver. Unpredictability and curiosity. This is another driver. In video games, for example, I don't know if you have ever seen this. There are Easter eggs, not chocolate eggs. I'm talking about surprises in the game. And even Pixar, if I'm not mistaken, The Pixar animations have Easter eggs. If you're watching maybe Toy Story, for example, in the background in a billboard, you can see the character from Cars and vice versa. Right? So there's always a little surprise in the cartoons, which makes people want to watch the cartoons to find those Easter eggs. The lottery is another example of unpredictability and curiosity, although you're not very likely to win anything, you still play the lottery. Another one is loss and avoidance. If you think about, this is the last one, if you think about Black Friday, there's only one day a year, huge sales. If you don't go to the stores on that day, you're going to miss out. You're not going to get the product you're looking for. Another strategy when companies say, we only have 10 left. If you don't buy yours right now, you won't get it. Even lives, like a lot of people are doing lives right now, they can say, this is not going to be recorded, so you can't watch it later. And this makes people join live because they won't be able to watch it later. One important thing about all of these gamification drivers is that you should not use more than 2 at the same time. And obviously, needless to say, use it wisely. Don't use it for evil. Let's put it like that. The idea here is, how can you use these ideas of drivers to motivate the person with the problem? It could be your student, yourself, family, whoever. How can you motivate them to do something that will be positive for them? That's the idea. So going back to that problem that I mentioned about online teaching, I don't know how many of you were feeling desperate when you learned that you were going to have to teach online, and thinking about the concept of design thinking to identify the problem and so on, and also gamification. I'm going to show you some ideas, okay? Very simple ideas of how these drivers can be connected, and creativity as well. First, the statement, we have to define the problem. Remember the formula? It could look something like this. Students need a way to keep having classes, but in the current context, the problem is we are all quarantined. There could be other problems as well. This is just one idea. What question might rise from this? How can we keep classes going during the quarantine without jeopardizing the quality of these classes? That could be one of the questions if that's the main issue. So we're not talking about how can I use technology, how can I learn this, and that. That also, but how can I do this without jeopardizing the quality? Keep it going. And gamification, how can we use gamification drivers? Just looking at all of them here together. Epic meaning and calling, development and accomplishment, creativity, ownership, social influence, so on. Here are some ideas. Once you have defined the problem clearly, look at this. You could use unpredictability and curiosity. For example, you can say, next class, guys, we're going to do something really incredible. I'm not going to tell you what it is, so you're bringing in the mystery element, and to get students to join, right, live with you for the classes. Another way, this one is more about creativity, is using Jamboard. How many of you have has already used Jamboard before? Do you know what it is? Let me show you here. This is what it looks like. This is by Google, and basically you have many possibilities here. You can add a sticker right there. You could draw something. If you choose the pen icon here, you can draw. You can, for example, let me find this. Yeah, you can play Pictionary, for example, somehow, right? And you send the link to the students, and when they open up the link, they are all participating, so they can also do things on the board, on this Jamboard. So you're basically sharing a space where you can create pretty much anything that you want. It really is up to you how to use that, okay? More, empowerment of creativity. You can also ask the students, look, what do you want to do next class? Obviously, here it's a good idea to give them options, because if you just leave it up to them, they probably won't think of anything, or they might be a bit too lazy to give an idea or to give ideas in general. So you can give them some options, 5 options to choose from. And maybe you can ask them to bring something to class according to what they have chosen. Another one here, epic meaning and calling plus social influence. We're going through this pandemic, this very unique situation here. And I know that there are some organizations out there that are collecting videos and messages from people all over the world. For example, to show to the elderly who are stuck in old people's homes, retirement homes. So why not talk to your students and think about recording a video with a message about hope or something like that. Or if they don't want to be in the video, they could write a message to these institutions. Obviously, you would have to find an institution that's doing that. I know that in Brazil there is one, but abroad I haven't looked it up. Development and accomplishment, you could not only with online classes, but with face-to-face classes, share progress in content that has been learned. We've been doing this for a couple of months, a little over 2 months, and showing the students where we were at the beginning, where we are now, everything that we've gone through, everything that we've studied and learned. It's a good way to keep them going. Some people are driven by that. So guys, these are just some examples. I encourage you to use your creativity, let those juices flow, let your imagination run free. A few final notes here about creativity. When it comes to creativity, one could say that it's about creativity, building up creativity muscles. As Claudio said, you develop creativity muscles. But I would also say that it's about not taking yourself too seriously as well. Remember I talked about this? So you have a problem to solve, try to relax a little bit, clarify, try to define clearly what the problem is, play, use your imagination, combine, don't be afraid, just be willing to play and do all these things. Build and try, fail fast and fail small so you can improve, test it with people, and finally repeat any part of the process if possible and if necessary before you actually launch something. Okay, I'm wrapping up, don't worry. Just that idea of what if, which in my opinion is very strong when it comes to creativity and finding solutions. What if you had a clear definition of your problem and then used your creativity along with gamification to solve it? What if you did that? I think this might bring you closer to the solution rather than just, randomly trying to think of things. My goals here were to shake things up, try to bring you some insights, help you maybe see things from a different perspective, show you some tools, show you some examples, help you find solutions to problems. Hopefully, I've been able to do at least a little bit of that. I really do hope that you can take something away from this presentation, even if it's just a little thing, just an idea. I'd be really happy if that happened. Special thanks here in credits. Recently, I took a course called Reaprendizagem Criativa by Murilo Gun. I don't know if you know him. As I said, this is just a tip of the iceberg. So many interesting topics, so many interesting things about all of this. If you want to study more deeply, know more about this, about creativity, look up Murilo Gun. And also Luciano Meira, he gave this workshop on gamification. This is when I first heard about these drivers that motivate people or might motivate people to do things. And I think it's very, very insightful, very interesting. guys, if you want to reach out to me, this is my email. You can go back on the video to get it. Send me an email. We can talk about any of these things. Maybe I can help you somehow. You can help me. We can help each other. And basically, this is it. Thank you very much. If you have any comments or any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat box. But we are practically done here. Claudio, are you there?
I'm here. Hello. Thank you. Thank you very, very much, Victor. It was amazing. Let me ask you a question. How was your learning procedures? How was your learning process during the preparation for this webinar?
My learning? Well, first, I think it was many steps, Claudio, but probably first of all, I tried to gather some information that were already in my head. Just gather everything up, right? Try to organize all of this information because it's a lot of information and it can get quite confusing. So I was careful about that. And then once I had it fairly organized, I did some research as well to try to dig a little deeper so that the information that I'm giving you here today is valuable. And also I just allowed myself to, there's something called incubation, which is when you have to give your brain some rest. When there's too much information, you might go crazy, and that might build a lot of anxiety within you. So you have to leave it aside and give it some rest. This is actually how, if you think about, is it Archimedes that said, Eureka? Correct me if I'm wrong. So a lot of people associate this Eureka when he just ran out of the bathtub. He was in a bathtub. And I had an idea. It was simple like that, but it wasn't simple. He had been studying for many years. He had been doing a lot of research on many different things. And when he was presented with the problem that he had to solve, he allowed himself to get all of that information, but then he was relaxing. He said, now it's a moment to incubate, relax. So he went to the bathtub, and while he was there, it came, when his brain was relaxed. So there are so many things here that involved the organization of this presentation, Claude. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Very, very good. Well, again, thank you very, very much, Victor. Congratulations. It was great. Really, really great. I'm sure that people could profit a lot. I want to mention again our fellow binational centers here. Glaucia from IPEU Vitória was here with us. Glaucia, thank you very much. Eliane, again, from Interamericano Curitiba. As I told you, Raquel from ABA, she couldn't connect, but she's going to watch the recording. I don't know if we have any other binational center with us here. Thanks a lot to our fellow teachers and for everyone who was here with us. Keep following us on the social networks because we are gonna say when we have the next webinars. As I told you, every other Friday is our intention. So on 19th, we must have something for you. Oh, Fabrício from IPEU Ribeirão Preto is also here. Thank you, Fabrício. So that's it.
Thanks everybody. Everybody's commenting here, thanking. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for watching.
From Interamericano.
Yes.
So thanks a lot, guys.
All right.
So that's it.
That's it.
I hope to see you again in future events. Victor, please say goodbye and let's finish it.
Yes.
Today's Friday.
For sure. Yes. Today's Friday. As I was saying, thank you to everybody who stayed here with us until now. Thanks for setting aside some time for this, for spending this hour and 15 minutes with us on your Friday afternoon. Really a lot. It was a real pleasure to share with you all of this. I do really hope that it's been helpful somehow. See you next time, guys.
Thank you. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.